G'day guys, how are we going? It's Alec here from Oz Fury Gaming, and we're going to be talking about this week in Star Citizen, all the cool things that have been happening, and all just the stuff that's been out there. So let's get started. First of all, they're showing off randomizing damage modules. So here they've got some arrays where they're blowing them up, and that's a pretty powerful machine gun, if I might say. But basically the concept is they're randomizing explosions. So if your ship's getting hit, instead of it blowing up every single damn time, it will just blow up in a different fashion. As if you hit the same spot. Obviously, if you hit different spots, it's going to blow up differently anyway. So that's really cool to see. Next thing they were showing was facial expressions, sort of trying to make people in the game, the avatars, look more human instead of just dead maggots, which I like. Which will be in 3.0, which is just showing all this text coming across, which will mean 3.0 will be amazing. Here they're showing off the meshes of people, so they're trying to get the performance required of your PC to be down, so it runs smoother, and also if you have high-end PCs, you can run it a lot nicer. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to get the meshes, and say if you're wearing a t-shirt, you put a jacket on, as they're showing here. The shirt sort of goes through the mesh, but it's trying to render the t-shirt and all the stuff underneath the jacket. So they're cleaning that up, making it that if you put a jacket on, anything underneath that jacket layer is therefore not rendered anymore, which is just going to save so much performance of your PC. It's amazing. Next thing on the list, guys, they were showing off a good bit of the inventory model, so or interacting model. So you can pick up this, what's meant to be a radar. You pull out the battery, you check the battery's charge. So you can see it's looking a bit sad. So they open up the drawer here, you pull out a battery, you stick the new battery in, and then you can turn the radar on, and you can still hold it in your hand. Obviously, I'd imagine you'd have, it'd be a lot bigger, and you'd be having your hand animations and stuff, but that's really cool. Next thing they're showing off is ship modules and showing how they all work. They've got the shield generator there, just sort of making some good sparks. Not exactly the best thing in the world, I know, to show off at the moment, because you think, oh, there's not much interesting, but when you see that it's actually going to become important when you're dealing with your throttle and also like the power output of your ship and where you put your power. So you've got your throttle and your guns and your shields, so you'll be able to mix that all up and show how it's going to work on your ship. So that's some really cool stuff going on there, guys. Some good tech that's going to be in 3.0 that'll make it run, and actually makes me think that it will be possible to run the game at 60 frames on PU. They also talked about the different ships, had the Cutlass and the Hurricane. Well, they didn't say the Hurricane, but the ship they couldn't speak about. The Aurora and the Buccaneer all getting reworks, which is just really cool stuff. It's really good to see that they're making these ships high def. They also showed last week they had the Hornet, if you caught that. Also, too, they're changing the way ships are actually going to be shown in the ship matrix, the guns and all the different stuff, and how you can see what they're going to actually have instead of sort of buying it going, well, actually, this doesn't have what I thought, so that's really cool. Also, too, guys, they were showing off the modularity with the doors, for example, so they can build a door and then they can just plug a wall over the top of it, so there'll be standardized sizes and there'll be standardized doors. So when you go between places, you go, oh, that door was from there before, but it might be slightly different or whatever, because you're on the same planet or the same area, you'd expect it to stay the same. So some kind of cool stuff happening there. So moving on from there, guys, we'll have a bit of a look at the lighting. Oh, lighting, you think, oh, that's nothing important. Well, it actually is when it comes to the fact that lighting can suck a big amount of performance out of your game when you've got shadowing and all that sort of stuff going with textures. So the previous system that I talked about was basically you had, say, your standard lighting, and if you change the color of the lighting, you'd therefore have to basically duplicate that lighting. So as you can see here, they've gone from just a normal light to like the green or the pink in the back. That there's not just the pink, but there's the normal lighting underneath it. So if you turn that pink lighting off, it's got the normal lighting there. They've changed it so when you put that pink line there, it's only the pink lighting. When you switch back to the light, it actually shows just your standard light, which is going to save so much more performance again. Like again, I'm going to say, guys, it's really showing that they're going to make some really good changes to the game. So here they're showing the difference in the lighting between the normal stance and an emergency stance. Another thing they had in around the verse, they had a fair bit going, was they were showing off the great tech that they got with the AI and the different suits coming out. Obviously in 3.0, when you go run ships, you're going to try and run it as professions. You've got to have different AI on the outside and the inside of the ship. So with that too, they're showing off the suits. This is the RSI exploration suit, showing the front and rear there. This is nearly out. They're just doing the rigging, so keep your eyes out for it because it's going to be out soon as. Another thing they were showing off, which I love, is the heavy armor. This is the pirate version, so some concept art, and they've got the high poly model being worked on now. Just after that, it'll be the coloring and the color mapping. That'll be cool. And another thing that they had going was the heavy armor for the Marines, which is, as you can see, is in high def model and colored. So I imagine they're just doing the rigging for that, but that's apparently nearly ready. So 3.0, hit me up. So they're showing off too how forums is working, guys. So what happens here on the standard forum, you have to have an instance for each forum, and then that carries on. But what they did was they changed it up with the Star Citizen. and the Spectrum. So the game feeds Star Citizen, right? And the Star Citizen will then feed Spectrum, so you can do like backwards and forwards connection. Because Spectrum is going to be more than just a forum; it's going to be an actual communication tool. Think of when Destiny was released, and you could actually, if you guys have ever played that, you could change everything around, like with your organizations or whatever clans. Well, the same thing happens here. You have your organizations that will plug in the Spectrum, which will plug into Star Citizen. So if you're on the go, you can talk to your guys, you can organize stuff, you can talk to your different organization members depending on where they are in the galaxy. It won't matter. So also too, they've shown us how they actually built Spectrum. So they had the technological stack, which is all your data. They threw that into a rendering technology communication layer, which goes to React, which is a baseline program, which is used by Facebook. It's open source, they were telling us. And they couple that with Redux, which is basically where they store all the data, which is really cool to see that this is what makes it work. That is basically Spectrum, guys. So what does this all mean? Well, Star Citizen will plug into your single account. Now, problem is, this is a bit of a hump, right? Because you got your account, and that feeds Spectrum, which is really cool. But the problem is, if you've got your phone and your laptop or whatever, wherever you're on the internet somewhere else, and you're logged into Star Citizen, so you've got multiple connections, it becomes a hassle trying to connect into Star Citizen. So they fixed that, and that was one thing that got around. Now, another thing too, guys, is they were showing off how they hope to use Spectrum as like a big auditory tool. So say you've got a big ship like a Polaris, which is actually so small, or an Idris, or even a Bengal carrier, whatever. The guys in your ship you can talk to through it, and then they want to make it so you can switch to a PA system. So say you're flying around and you get enemies coming at you, you can switch to PA system and call everyone on the ship, guns ready, or whatever you want to call it. So that's also going to be a really powerful tool for organizations and how to coordinate with people. So Lawmaker's Guide of the Galaxy. They talked about the Magnus system. The Magnus system is in the heart of the big jumps throughout the UEE systems. It's only got 3 planets. It's got Bora, Magnus 1, and Magnus 3. Adam Weiser was on this week, and he's the associate writer from CIG, and he was talking about the sun itself. So the sun itself, basically, it's a lot less luminosity, whatever you say it, depending where you're in the world. It's 0.35 of our sun and produces less UV, which means there's a higher chance of life being formed. Magnus 1 is what they reckon was a planet that was a big gas giant, and because of the gravity of the sun, pulled it in and turned it into a high minerally dense rocky planet. But it's kind of close to the sun. We've got Bora here, which is basically an Earth-like planet with multiple different ecosystems, and it's in an only habitable planet really about. And then they've got Magnus 3, which is a big gas giant, which is what I was saying Magnus 1 was. A lot of pirates end up here now, gathering, doing stuff, so that's pretty cool if you're a pirate, I suppose. So they went on to talk about the Magnus system and its history. And it's a fairly old system in the good old UEE galaxy. In 2499, this was first discovered, and scientists were excited because they wanted to discover new life, but there was none there. So they're like, well, whatever, we'll just leave it for the moment. In 2533, they basically military classified it, and they terraformed Bora and turned it into the UPE Navy shipyard, which is before the UEE. So that went on for many years. In the mid-2600s, they decided to move the shipping manufacturing off Bora, which then caused the population to just dwindle because everyone's like, nah, I'm out of here. The economy pretty much collapsed. But during this time, guys, there was what we know as Kruger Intergalactic now, but they only started off as a small machining shop. So they're making parts for all sorts of places like RSI and the Navy and that sort of thing. So they weren't making ships at this time, but they were making precision pieces. And an example they were making was the P8-8R ballistic rifle. Make the firing pin for that, or they might make a really precision piece for this ship that was really important. So that's how Kruger got going. So after that, guys, Kruger kept going and going and going, and then in 2751, there was a military declassification, so more people could start coming to the planet, because before that, what happened was no one else could come. So this 100,000 people sort of breeding with themselves, and they're just pretty cut off. So between that time, guys, Kruger 2, because everyone was leaving, right, all the big machining guys were leaving, and Kruger brought up all this technology and all the technicians and all the machinists, and they started becoming bigger and bigger and really well known. And what happened was, though, in 2785, because Magnus became like a pirate hub, it was sort of like a bit of a hole in the galaxy. They were getting more and more attacks from pirates, so a lot of the budget was going to pay for protection for the ships, and eventually, like I said, in 2785, one of the shipments got hit, which really put RSI, which is one of their big suppliers, so the entire supply chain was stuffed. So RSI then decided to diversify, that's more story. But Kruger go, right, we can't do this, it's going to be bad business, so they end up moving to the Castro system, which then opened the door up for Drake Interplanetary. Drake originally started off as a small mob trying to basically get into the door with military contracts. They wanted to build a modular ship that was going to go for the Navy. Didn't take off because another ship took over. They won't tell us in the video because apparently the ship's just not existed anymore. And that was the Cutlass. So they redirected the Cutlass into the civilian market, and that's what we know it as today. So another little bit of history, guys, was the capital was actually called Newcastle on Bora, but you can't land it because there was an assassination a couple of years ago, according to where we're up with Standard Times. So now we've got to go land in Odysseia, or however you pronounce it. It depends where you're in the world. So that's pretty cool, and that's where Drake Interplanetary's headquarters and main building yards are. So Magnus is probably not a place to go if you're new or if you haven't got the greatest bit of kit as a ship, because apparently there are a lot of pirates and it's deadly to be there. So just keep that in mind, guys. So after Lawmakers got to the galaxy, guys, let's have a look at what was in the happy hour. So they were building this alien, which is pretty cool. As you can see, it's been turned from a blob, and it was just really cool to watch. It took an hour, and they built this awesome bug, and it's actually really big. If it's gonna be in game or not, I have no idea, but you can see it is compared to a human. It is quite a large creature. So also, guys, onto the subscribers, they had Daymar. This is Moon, and it's absolutely awesome high-res photos of it. You might not be much into moons, you go, I don't give a shit, but you know what, for me, I like seeing this stuff going, you know what, the game is actually filling out. You can see that 3.0 might actually be 6 months away instead of what I thought was going to be 12 months. So I'm confident that it's coming together. Now, all we got here, guys, is the Anvil Hurricane. The Anvil Hurricane has been on sale just recently. It's on sale to March 6th. Basically, it's got 6x3 guns, standard. Front nose guns can be size 4, but the turret on the back of the gimbal is size 3. They come standard with 11 series broadswords. Also got 4 size 3 missiles, which are ignites. So thanks for joining in, guys. Check my video of the Hurricane if you're keen, and also I hope to catch you guys in the verse, and toodles.